What is something I can be fired for? Hey, what counts as workplace discrimination? And can I get fired for refusing to take the COVID vaccine? These are all questions that we will be answering today. And you know what? You can get whatever law-related question you need answered on Friday during the For All Statewide Service Day event. So what is For All Service Day? It's an annual Call a Lawyer event with hundreds of volunteer attorneys providing free legal information to thousands of North Carolinians. This year it is happening on Friday, March the 5th. The phones will be open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. the entire day. Nicole Patino from the law offices of Nicole Patino is one of those lawyers who donates her time to answer your questions during For All Service Day. And she's here today to talk about not only the event, but to also answer your questions about workplace issues. So if you have a workplace issue question, you can text it to us, 336-379-5775. Remember, this is a text-only number. This is not a call number. All right, Nicole, first and foremost, let's just start off with, if people have never heard of For All Service Day before, tell them what they can expect.
For All is a great event. You call the number and you can ask pretty much any legal question that you have. It's totally free. Once you call, you specify what kind of legal problem you have. And this year they're directing you to attorneys who deal specifically with that issue, if at all possible. So it's an opportunity to get those questions answered, and for attorneys like me to volunteer our time and services and make sure that everybody has access to an attorney and to the legal answers that they may need.
Right, and so it can be anything and everything. It can be, I am supposed to go to court for a ticket and I don't know what the process is, or I have a child custody case and I need to know if this is actually legal. And so they're able to give legal information about your specific case.
That's right. And if we don't know the answer, then we will send you somewhere where you can get that information.
Right, because every lawyer, you know, kind of does their own types of things. So like, for instance, Nicole is doing workplace issues, so she wouldn't be the best person to handle a family law like a divorce or a marriage question, but they do have lawyers on staff during For All Service Day to be able to help you with that. Okay. With that, let's start with the workplace issues, because this is what you are talking about today. So let's put up our first question there. And so our first question is, what can I be fired for? And that's kind of a loaded question, I'm sure.
That's right. So in North Carolina, you can be fired for almost anything. The only thing that you can't be fired for is, unless there's a contract, but typically we're an at-will employment state, so you can be terminated for any reason except for unlawful discrimination or violation of public policy. And so those would be things like if your employer tries to fire you because of your race or gender or religion, ethnic origin, or if they try to get you to commit a crime, fraud or falsification of records, and you refuse to.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next question that we have for you that deals with workplace issues. And that is, what counts as discrimination at work? And what do you need to do to prove it, I guess, is also my follow-up question.
So that's kind of a loaded question there. Unlawful discrimination would be discrimination that's based on those protected characteristics, like I said before. In those situations, to show that, and you want to talk to an attorney and tell them everything that you know and that's happened if you do believe you've been discriminated against. But any comments that happened, any different treatment. So if you made a complaint that you were being discriminated against due to a disability, and then you and a coworker engaged in leaving for lunch and not clocking out, but only you were punished, that may be evidence of unlawful discrimination.
All right, so I'm sure that is really difficult in figuring out how do you give evidence to that. But if you're coming to a lawyer, they're going to ask you for certain things. So what kinds of certain things should you be prepared to share or have?
Right. Most of the time, I ask the potential clients to just tell me their story. But if there are any emails that you have, any documents, if you feel like you're being discriminated against, take notes, keep a diary, a calendar, write down everything that's happening, because the more information we have, the better.
Okay. All right, let's go on to the next most common workplace question that we have, and that is, Can I be fired for refusing the vaccine? We already have a couple of those in the queue to be asked. So what can happen with that?
Absolutely. There are a couple of exceptions. If you have a sincerely held religious belief, or if you have a reason that's based on a disability, those are basically the only two exceptions that would prevent you from being fired if you don't take the vaccine.
And then some people would say, okay, why is that? And can you talk a little bit about how the employer can weigh the possibility of endangerment to other workers or who's there?
Sure. So the employer has a general duty to maintain the health and safety of employees in the workplace, and that's probably their number one consideration. But if you're a healthcare provider, you may need that vaccine more than somebody else who works maybe in a manufacturing facility or some other facility, an office. And in that case, even if you do have one of these exceptions, you could pose the sincerely held religious belief or a disability. You could pose a direct threat. And if you posed a direct threat, the employer is going to engage in the interactive process with you and see if they can find some other way to accommodate you.
Okay, gotcha.
But they're going to look at that.
All right, so we're going to continue to answer your workplace questions. We've got one more segment coming up. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.